Hey members, what's up? You guys get to see something cool. So for one, 1080p, 60 FPS, not normal for an episode of the Ice Age. But this is just a kind of season finale for the first season of the Ice Age. We've been trying a whole bunch of different things. And I think for season 2, we're going to do less new stuff. In fact, we might not do any new stuff at all for the next season of the Ice Age. It's just going to be just adventures, going out into the field and doing stuff. That's what we're going to try and do. Maybe we'll even bring car reviews back. You never know. But if you're watching this at a later date and you're wondering why it's 60 FPS in a different form, it's just because it's been upscaled so that it's the same as the other episodes. But yeah, this is the news special. This will be the last season where we really focus on the news, and we're going to be going and doing some adventures. And I'm going to try and even do at least one budget build challenge for the next season, like a budget daily driver challenge of some kind. Let's get on with the show. Today we've got a fireman who probably needs to spend some time actually on fire, the secret V12 powered BMW M car, a Mustang that isn't a Cobra R but definitely does look like one, and some doom and gloom about Need for Speed. Welcome everyone. Back to Vroom News. Let's start with the fireman. A fireman who clearly has way too much time on his hands. You see, his neighbor likes to drive JDM import tuner cars, proper imported cars into the US. And his favorite in his fleet is his Nismo 270R. Obviously, a very rare and very cool example of the S14 Silvia. Well, I guess there was some kind of dispute about water draining from the car owner's property onto the firehouse and potentially allegedly causing some damage. It might have been a dispute on who was responsible for fixing the damage or whatever. I don't have the specifics on that. I mean, one can only imagine how heated the argument about the water drainage got, because the fireman felt it was necessary to escalate matters by vandalizing the 270R by throwing rocks all over it. Charming.
A few months ago, you may have seen many YouTubers left, right, center, buying commercial spaces or leasing commercial spaces.
Do you remember the good old days from the old Need for Speed games? How you always would have a warehouse or some kind of safe house commercial garage type building where you would store all your cars and hide from the cops? I just said old. We're talking about games from like 2003 to like 2005 or 2006. 26 going on 70. I feel old. Anyways, existential dread aside, and my mortality aside, Black Panther, the Need for Speed man, now has a real safe house of his own. And I gotta give him props, because he actually purchased the property and didn't give in to the urge to get something huge with a lot of upkeep. Because honestly, that would be my temptation too. It would be super cool to have a whole bunch of space, when actually, it'd be just as much fun with something smaller that I own and can just keep. And I gotta say, it's quite fun watching someone who normally does gaming stuff do a kind of DIY teardown of what will eventually become his dream garage. And I gotta say, he's come quite a long way with it now. I know I definitely want to do something like this at some point in the future, but I think mine will just have to be bigger because I want my own rig. I want my own semi-truck. You know, a Kenworth W900 with even just a 3-car trailer, that's going to need some space if I want to store it inside, which I do, because I want to be able to haul my own cars around the country, go on tours, meet you guys, interact with the community, without putting ridiculous amounts of miles on some very special cars. I'm all about daily driving and doing all that sort of stuff, but 1,000-mile road trips is tough on any vehicle, except for a semi-truck. So what do you think of this kind of fairly recent trend of automotive YouTubers all getting these commercial properties? Is it silly? Does it take away the relatability? Is it fun to watch? Does it ruin it? Does it kind of make you back off a little bit? Like, how does it affect your ability to enjoy the viewing experience? Do you go, yeah, I'm rooting for my favorite YouTubers' success and I want to see them grow? Or it's like, it's cool they did this and I'm happy for them, but they're not like a regular person anymore. I'm just parroting what I've heard and what I've read, I should say.
The only V12 powered production M car ever.
Why so serious? Anyways, really weird makeup aside, the BMW M8. No, not that one. This one. No, wait. Not that one. This one. Yeah, just ignore the CSI badging. So Haggerty put out this really cool video about the history of the E31 8 Series BMWs and how we did sort of get a V12 powered BMW M car. You see, when most people, well, actually this is quite niche, so it's so I should say, for those of you who are in the know, will picture this car if I say V12 powered BMW M8. This is the E31 BMW M8 prototype, a manual rear-wheel drive 600 plus horsepower V12 powered BMW M car. An enthusiast's dream which unfortunately gets woken up from by poor E31 sales and an astronomical projected price tag should a car like this go into production. So unfortunately, this version of the E31 M8 died before it could ever go into production. It was dead before arrival, which is a real shame because it would have been powered by the very same S70/2 V12 that was used in the McLaren F1. This car would have been BMW's equivalent to McLaren's F1, Ferrari's F40, Mercedes' CLK GTR, or Porsche's 911 GT1, Lotus's Elise GT1. Imagine if they had built this V12 powered car and then, just to go even crazier, actually have a motorsport program for it. Could you imagine how amazing this car would be if it had like a GT1 motorsport style program? You just know we're in the dark timeline because that didn't happen for us.
BMW didn't notice that in its customers' minds, an M badge actually signified a BMW flagship.
But all that said, apparently the BMW 850 CSI was put together by BMW's M division. They did a whole bunch of tinkering with the engine, squeezed out some more power, made it a little bigger, and according to the registration in Germany, at the very least, an 850 CSI on paperwork is actually an M8, irregardless of the badging. Neat! And I gotta say, the S70B56 in the 850 CSI is a really cool engine. Really cool engine, man. It's too bad that the E31 didn't sell well enough to warrant the true M8, but still cool nonetheless, and it's neat learning new stuff about BMW, at least for me. But I will say, I can't tell if it's a sporty car or a full-blown sports car or a luxury car or a nerdy car, if it's like some kind of GT car. I'm not sure who the 850 CSI is for. And maybe that's why it didn't sell very well, because it's not obvious. I will say though, nowadays you can get a car that is sporty and luxury all in one, and that just brings me to Dave's Bentley Continental GT of Daily Driven Exotics. The reason why I want to really look at it with you guys is because of the livery. Dave actually did a pretty good job with this livery. It's a two-tone livery, and I gotta say it works really well. The triangle pattern looks really cool. He chose a great shade of yellow. I really like yellow cars, but a great shade of yellow. And I think after this video, they actually switched the wheels around so that the yellow wheels was on the gray side and the gray wheels were on the yellow side, which I think was a great choice. That looks super cool. Makes them really pop. That nice contrast. Script says, chef's kiss. Mwah. I love cool car liveries. In a day and age where everyone seems to want their cars and everyone else's cars to be kind of minimalistic, you know, very, very clean and very simple. No flashy liveries, no crazy body kits, just a couple carbon lips, some nice performance mods, some nice wheels, and that's it. For some reason, that's the standard now. Oh, and an exhaust, too, if you're not in California. But, you know, cars at one point in time were an expression of the owner, the driver, and If your car is just a few carbon lips, wheels, and an exhaust, and you don't push it further than that, so long as budget's not the issue, what does that say about you? Just kind of makes me think of that episode of Fairly Odd Parents, where everyone is just a shade of gray and they're all just a bunch of blobs with no unique qualities. Be adventurous, use crazy colors, use liveries, use body kits, do something that shows everyone the car is yours. Do something, even if it's a subtle detail. Don't do the simple stuff. Unless if it's a daily, then I kind of understand. And hey, I just, in case this is the reason why, if budget's an issue, I understand. Being a car guy in this economy, it kind of sucks, gotta be said. I do like the 33 on the grille mesh. I think that's a really cool touch. It's kind of like an homage to classic race cars, like from like a century ago, pretty much. I really like having those sorts of numbers on the front grille. I think since the grills on modern BMWs are so huge, I feel like people should be putting racing numbers on all of the modern BMWs. Like, it would make perfect sense. The Bentley itself isn't my style, but if I had one, I'd definitely go for something like this. I love it. Though, I'll be honest, I am more going to be going for a supercar at this kind of level or price point. Like a 570, a Huracan, something like that. I've never been a big luxury guy. I just don't need a whole bunch of comfort when I drive, which is good because I drive American semi-trucks. And all the Scania guys are going to tell me, American trucks are garbage and you don't like quality and you're decades behind, which I'm sure is true, but I don't care. Give me that Kenworth. Now, a word from our sponsor, but not really. Vin Diesel Fuel, or whatever the heck this AI crap is. I'm not sponsored, but just watch this. It's cursed.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time to the 2024 edition of Vin Diesel Fuel. It's a high-octane boost infused with the essence of unstoppable momentum. It'll never let you down.
I love how disappointed The Rock looks.
This drink is your perfect partner. So, crack open a can.
I'm sorry. I suffered through it, so you had to suffer through it. I wasn't doing that by myself.
This might be the most forgotten Mustang of all time.
Mustangs. In particular, this SN95 Cobra. This 4-valve powered classic Mustang will make you think of, I would assume, Boosted GT and his yellow car from the old days with the old body style, and the Cobra R, leaving you confused because if you're like me, you've only ever seen that spoiler on one of the red Cobra Rs. I just wanted to include this car really quick to see if you guys had ever heard of this, and to also ask, do you consider the S197 Shelby GT500s Cobras, or what about the S550 GT500 or the GT350? What constitutes a car being worthy of the Cobra moniker? Need for Speed is dead again, and should they even bring it back? I feel like EA has forgotten how to cater to the Need for Speed fandom, if I'm honest with you. They just seem to be really, really good at killing studios for no good reason. They like to blame the studios for their mistakes, basically. This is kind of the obvious consensus. The modern Need for Speed games of late are a weird mixture of hey fellow kids energy and lazy nostalgic fan service with terrible, absolutely freaking terrible, abysmal, staring in the face of Cthulhu level, brain cell killing writing. I'm getting upset just thinking about it. Like, just merge with Disney already. You're already perfect for each other. You're like the gaming version of them. It's weird. Well, actually, you're kind of competing with Ubisoft for that, to be honest. I honestly think the next Need for Speed game, if there is one, which I'm sure there's a good chance there will be, it needs to be something we've never ever seen before in a Need for Speed game. Something completely out of the box, which is fitting since you killed Black Box. EA, you dunce. Get your storytelling on the same level as something like Red Dead Redemption 2. Maybe let the characters actually get out of the cars and walk around or something. I know, blasphemy, but you need to do something new. It maybe includes some actual action. Not necessarily to the level of GTA or anything like that. Like, you can keep the guns down to a bare minimum and just have like a few fights in there, or like running scenes, or just the ability to walk around and interact with the world. Maybe make it like an RPG or something where you can interact with people and have relationships and recruit people to race with you and stuff. And just let the characters be regular people, normal people, not people with cyberpunk clothing and people with brightly colored hair who speak like a Redditor or a Twitter user, pretending to be social. The characters in Unbound were absolutely awful. They were not realistic people, and they were all infuriating. Like, what was her name? The blue-haired chick? Tess? Yeah, she needed to die in a car crash.
Yeah, I was like, yo, bro. And yo, check this, bro. He was all like, if you know, bro. And you know what I said? Bro!
Bro, kill me now. Also, do not try. Just do not try. Don't even think about it. Do not try to tell some kind of dumb story or somehow the cops are the bad guys and the street racers are the good guys. Or we're still like an Unbound where somehow like the street racers were like a marginalized group of people. That felt really weird. Having them act like a minority group being targeted by the police. That was uncomfortable. That was weird. Don't know who thought that was a good idea, but that was weird. That's a brief glimpse into the fact that these people making these games might be just a little bit out of touch. Better yet, let me write your story. Just let my compensation be an R34 GTR, and I'll write you a winner. I won't ask for any proceeds, any royalties, nothing. You don't even have to credit me. And, just as an ultimatum, the offer expires when I write my own automotive story or when I buy my own R34, which could happen soon because my BMW M3 GTR is almost done. So, is Need for Speed dead? Maybe. And for now, that's probably okay. Just play the old games. What's your problem? Can a Mercedes sedan sound like a Zonda? Is the twin-turbo Revuelto going to be the new king of the half-mile tracks? Are bumper deletes and chassis wings back in, or are they cringe now? Let's chat about it. This is Vroom News, baby. I don't like that I said baby. That was weird. We're leaving it in, though. We're doing it live. Couple things. Let's start with RX-7s. And this RX-7 sounds like it's been engine swapped. And secondly, no one told me RX-7s could sound like this. So yes, this RX-7 is definitely engine swapped. But it's not a 1J, it's not a 2J, or an RB, or any kind of straight 6. It's still a rotary. It's actually a 3-rotor car, and apparently a 3-rotor RX-7 with an unequal length exhaust manifold, single turbo I believe, like the one from CX Racing, gives this car a very smooth and very classic kind of tuner car sound, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want an RX-7 just so I can make it sound like this. Yeah, that's a pretty sick noise. What the heck was that? It wasn't going very fast, but it sounded nuts.
S-Class with the one and only Sasaki Brilliant Exhaust. Here we go.
1994 W140 S600 with a V12 engine. It has the M120 engine block.
Oh, thanks for the rundown, F-Spot. So, in case you somehow aren't aware of who F-Spot is, he's like the premier car spotter of the California area. And his Mercedes sounds just insane. And somehow he tracked down a 760 Zonda and will be showing us what they sound like side by side. Because why not? You gotta make content if you find a Zonda, let alone a 760.
The C12s, the Zonda S's, the Zonda F's, and of course the 760 Zondas. They are all using the M120 engine block.
It kind of reminds me of people telling me an Aston Martin DBS can sound like a Zonda. And I can't remember if it's for the same reasons that this Mercedes can, but man, I miss the days of when the Zonda was the latest and greatest thing. Pagani was saying for a while, if you guys remember, with every time they released like a new version of the Zonda, they would say, after this, it's being discontinued. This is the last Zonda, the last one. But then they'd keep releasing new versions. They just couldn't let it go. Understandably. It was hard for everybody to say goodbye to the Zonda. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think the Zonda is still a cooler car than the Huayra. Now, I don't know about the Utopia or anything like that, but I think the Zonda still has the charm. The most charm. I will say, I don't think I have ever seen a Zonda street car with a wing like that. That reminds me of like the Zonda R or the Revoluzione. It's absolutely insane looking.
Here we are, filling up the beast.
It does really look like a Zonda R on the street. It's like something out of Need for Speed from the early 2010s. I don't know how this dude got this thing in the US because I know for a fact they did not make it for this market. I don't know if it's show or display. I ain't digging into that. I've already made the mistake of talking about the legality of someone else's import. That video is gone. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it again. Nope, not worth it. Not all publicity is good publicity. I learned my lesson. Plus, it's kind of hypocritical to talk about the federal legality of, a car that's been imported into the U.S. when I also think that the federal laws that restrict people to being able to modify their cars at all are also bullshit. So yes, 25-year law, bullshit. Emissions laws for modified cars, also bullshit. I don't think I've heard a Zonda go full tilt in a very long time. I forgot what they sounded like. So they don't sound exactly the same, which I guess makes sense. I mean, the headers on the Mercedes is definitely putting in the work, but the piping on the Zonda just clearly is a little bit more special. I mean, it helps that it's mid-engined, I'm sure, so I think that has a pretty big impact. There's less piping to go through. There might be no X pipes, or there could be some X pipes in there. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a Zonda exhaust before, like a full one just outside of the car. I don't think I've ever seen one before. But I'll tell you what, I really want to copy that quad tip exhaust on something. I think it would look cool on at least a few cars that I can think of.
What's up, TRC fans? It's Javier from That Racing Channel.
TRC, Subi Gang. I feel like I'm legally obligated to cover some Subaru content now that I'm in Washington, because Subarus are everywhere out here. And I've seen quite a few GC8s actually, but nothing as cool and crazy as this one, an 800 horsepower monster. That's a good race. So the owner of this car is really, really cool. He's all about the experience and just running side by side with someone else and having both of your cars be at full tilt without really a clear winner. He even says at one point in the video that he's basically willing to turn down the boost in his car to increase the chances of a fun, super close race. That's a true enthusiast right there. He loves to go fast, but it's even more important to have fun. Man, I wish they still made cars that looked like this. If someone made a modern car with this kind of simple, boxy body style today, rectangular headlights and taillights, and gave it like a modest 350 horsepower. You could even just do 300, whatever. That would be a wonderful little car. Only downside is it would probably cost you like $50,000 or $60,000 because just you, I guess. Maybe Thanos was right. The Lamborghini Revuelto. It sounds pretty cool with a couple of turbos bolted onto it. Can't wait to see how fast these things go once they've been properly tuned and set up. If someone could figure out how to make them look good from the back, these cars would be perfect. Hopefully the SV version fixes the rear end. I wonder how hard these cars will be to tune. I did see that Mansory came out with like a body kit where it kind of made the back end look kind of like the rear of a, I think it's a Centenario. An improvement, for sure. I really don't like the exhaust placement. I just think it looks really dumb. Unlike the Huracan platform, a supercar that seems to have some of the best aftermarket support, and boy, are these twin-turbo cars fast, some of these cars are pushing over 2,000 horsepower, and some are even capable of going over 200 miles per hour in under half a mile. Absolutely insane. And this 3,500, my voice cracked, 3,500 horsepower, I read that right, yeah, okay. 3,500 horsepower, underground racing Huracan STO, trapped 246 miles per hour in half a mile. That's wicked fast. What the? Is it 2018 again? Man, I wish. For a second, I thought I was tuning into an old DDE video. Check out Brap's 528's Huracan with this black market race chassis-mounted wing. It's the wide-body version of the wing. There is a narrow-body version. And it's paired with the Zacco wide-body kit. And I gotta say, I kinda dig it. If I remember correctly, though, the chassis wing everyone used back in the day was made by Sadistic. But this one, I would say, is more to my liking, because when you compare them, the brackets or uprights, or however you want to put it, they stay behind that bumper bar before coming all the way out. Whereas the Sadistic one goes out and over the bumper, which I don't really like as much. I don't know. Maybe it's just a taste thing. But hey, I dig it. Makes it a hard choice, though. Do I get a Huracan Evo and I do this kind of setup? Or an STO and I just put a proper Super Trofeo wing on it? Because the stock STO wing is just too small. I did a poll, though, and you guys seem to prefer the STO over the chassis-mounted look, which is annoying, because I really like the chassis-mounted wing, but I also really like the STO. It's like when you do a coin flip to figure out how to do something, it's like it's 50-50, you know, I'd love to do this, and I'd love to do this, and as the coin's in the air, you start to think, man, I really hope it lands on this, and then it lands on the other thing, and you go, no! I didn't even sign a contract with anyone to, like, force me to stick with the decision. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing. The E92 M3. John, keeping up with the Bavarians. Are you listening? Hello? Hello? Bro? Just wanted to talk about this car. A beautiful car, the E92 M3. Beautiful car with a beautiful engine. Might even be the best engine ever put into a BMW street car. The only contender might be the S85, the V10. And I always thought that the holy grail version of the E92 M3 was the GTS. But now after seeing the Adro Aero package for the E92 M3, I'm not so sure, man. The added carbon lips, the diffuser, a super sick swan neck wing that actually looks really good. It transforms the car. I don't know what color would look good with this kind of combination. Like a frozen gray or fire orange like the GTS. Let me know what you think. And also, would you boost an E92 M3? Like, would you do a Gintani twin turbo kit? Or would you do a VF supercharger? Or would you be more inclined to keep it NA and just put a 2M velocity stack kit on it to really maximize that induction noise? All of these sound really fun. That would be pretty cool. Not gonna lie. Let me know. The Lambo V10 has died, and the Temerario stands in its stead. The C8 ZR1 is giving McLaren a run for their money, and an illegal paint color has returned. Hey all, welcome back to Vroom News. So what do you guys think of the Temerario? Honestly, I can accept, all right? I can accept the death of the V10, as sad as it is. We still get to have a twin-turbo V8, a high-revving one, for that matter, so I'm okay with it. However, I will say the Temerario does not look very good. The front is kind of cool, but it just feels a little watered down, like an off-brand GTA 5 supercar. But the back is awful. And I can't understand how people like it. I liked the Huracan from the get-go. It didn't have to grow on me at all. And I loved every generation of the Gallardo. So it's not a matter of the car growing on me. Cars don't grow on me. That's not how it works for me. Unless if it grows on me like a fungus or something. Lamborghini and their terrible rear fascia designs can mush on out of this room. They can get out of here. I'm not for it. I don't get it. They figured it out on the Huracan STO and the Aventador SVJ. They figured out where the exhaust is supposed to go. In the center. Not the top middle. The center. That's where it looks best. They know how to make the back of a car look good. But the Revuelto and the Temerario just don't. The Revuelto from the front looks really cool, which is why the back is so disappointing. And it's a shame because both cars are going to be undeniably fast. We know the Revuelto was fast. The Temerario is probably also going to be really freaking fast. And what's frustrating about that is that these cars are going to be passing people very easily because of how fast they are. And the slower drivers getting past are going to watch the car overtake them, and they're just going to go, when they should be going, damn, that's a nice car. Maybe, if they're an enthusiast. I will say, I think it has the potential to sound very, very cool. It maybe just needs a body kit. I'm holding out hope that, like, the GT3 or the GTD or the Squadra Corsa race cars, the exteriors of those make it look better. And then someone just makes a replica of those body kits, and then we don't have to worry about it. Or they do a Performante version or a Superleggera version or an Evo version or a Super Trofeo version, like for street cars, and they actually just make it look better. Maybe that's just what we have to wait for. I don't know. I wouldn't know where to start with that thing. I don't know. Gotta move the exhaust, man. I'll tell you what does look good and definitely does sound good, though, and I am definitely excited for the Toyota GR GT3. I am so excited for this car, just from the shape of it. I mean, which is almost kind of Aston Martin Vulcan-esque. It's so promising. It looks like it's going to be such a cool car. So many new cars have come out lately, and I've taken issue with their visual design in one way or another. Please, just please, let it look as good as it seems to look. Just let the final version be a masterpiece. Toyota needs to show everyone how it's done. I'm not sure, but maybe they aren't really truly stretching the car's legs in this video. I can't tell if they're testing the street car or the race car, because I don't know what the street car is supposed to look like. Because I would be surprised if the engine in this thing is unable to rev higher than it is doing in this video. It sounds like it's in, 3,000, 4,000 rev ranges. So I just checked. The race car is supposed to have the NA racing engine out of the RCF GT3 race car, which is very cool. And the road-going car is going to have a twin-turbo V8. Oh, man. That's going to be cool. This could be good, you guys. Like, genuinely, if this car looks good, because it'll perform just fine, I'm going to want one for sure. If it looks anything like the GR GT3 concept, I'm in. Even if it is, estimated to cost $200,000, like how some people are speculating, which is insane value, by the way, when you think about it. I'm pretty stoked. I might have to kick something off the list to put this in its stead. I wonder, though, since it uses the RCF GT3 powertrain in its racing trim, will the road car be badged as a Lexus or a Toyota in the US? I'm leaning more towards Lexus, but it's interesting to think about. Amelia Hartford, the automotive YouTuber I think of when someone brings up Chevy, and more specifically, the C8 Corvette. She gives us a closer look at the C8 ZR1. And I gotta tell you, this is one hell of a car. It looks So good. Really good. And it sounds like a twin-turbo V8 McLaren. McLaren doesn't even do that anymore. Bunch of cowards. Also, I heard that Europe is banning ICE engines by 2035. The hell, Europe? What's wrong with you? The LT7 engine is definitely a beast, but I still think I'm going to stick with the LT6 as the engine I want to swap in my M3 GTR. I don't need turbos. I don't need 1,000 horsepower. 600 is the Goldilocks number, so I'm cool with that. But Chevy, you built an awesome car. We all know how good of a car this is going to be, but the real question is, how marked up and exclusive and limited production is it going to be? That's the thing that could kind of ruin this. Because these cars aren't for regular car enthusiasts anymore. It's not the same thing. Not the same as a C7 or a C6 or a C5 or anything like that. Different clientele, different kind of enthusiast. And it gets a different type of attention now. And what's crazy, the C8 Z06 was such a big deal when it got unveiled and released for sale. And then, because no one could get one for whatever reason, or they were marked up to the sky, we all just kind of stopped talking about it. Because we kind of ran out of things to talk about. Oh, it's marked up 70 grand, or I can't find one anywhere, or like there aren't even that many videos of people straight piping them or anything like that. And I don't even know if they're tunable or anything like that. So it's kind of like, it kind of stopped being newsworthy pretty fast. I don't know if exclusivity and limited production really worked in this car's favor. Because it's not like it's a Ford GT. That said, I could be talking out of my ass. Maybe sales will be just fine. Actually, I'm sure sales will be just fine. I just wish, as someone who's probably not going to buy one, I just wish I could see more of them out there. More of them out there getting driven. Because that's what it's supposed to be about. The Goodwood Festival of Speed apparently banned, or at the very least is trying to restrict, donuts. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. But that's okay. We've got Weston Champlin for the baddest burnout events, and if I can find some acreage out here in Washington, I'll just host our own kind of American Goodwood Festival of Speed. I mean, hell, my last name is Wood. We could just call it the Wood Festival of Speed. The Woodwood Festival of Speed. I'm sensing a joke coming on. Wait.
No.
So, Subaru. I need to talk about Subaru for a moment. Not just because David Patterson made a video about how the modern WRX and WRX STI, if you even want to call it that, are a joke. But because I used to be a Subaru WRX owner, and I cannot believe how disappointing the WRX has become. I mean, the modern car looks like a bastard love child between a Honda Civic Type R and an Evo 10, which you'd think would be really cool, but it just looks uninspired. CVT transmissions, just why? Put a ZF 8-speed in there or a dual clutch, you cowards. I don't know. Why mess it up? Why not just let the last generation be the last one? The Evo 10 died at a high point, and their legacy is intact. The same could not be said for the WRX. That said, though, I still really want a Blob Eye. Blob Eye would be kind of fun. And honestly, these cars are everywhere out here in Washington. So I'll probably get a Subaru sometime again. One day, sometime. But I really want an Evo 10, so I think that's going to happen before that ever happens. The ultimate color has returned. The color that required permission from Ford and supervision from the government to use is back. Mistachrome is back. We're keeping that. You can buy in 2025. You can buy in the modern day a modern Mustang from RTR and have it optioned from factory, not aftermarket, with a Mistachrome. And it's absolutely stunning. And it looks like, I think it's a slightly updated version of Mistachrome because all the colors on it really do seem to pop a lot more than the original. Let me know what you think. I mean, my voice cracked again. Is this better or worse than the original Mr. Chrome? Is it a little too bright and contrasty? Or do you prefer the more kind of muted-ish version of the original? Let me know. The McLaren P1. One of the most timeless automotive designs of all time. You could sell one of these things today, new, and no one would bat an eye. That is how good they look. This is, in my opinion, the ultimate endgame. You can't top my dream car as the P1. Can't top it. Hey, if my book sells 1 million copies, I'm buying this, man. If I win the lottery, I'm picking one of these up. I think they set my kid on fire. I don't know if you can hear her screaming. I love this car, but now the P1 finally has a successor. And at least at first glance, I have to say, I'm a little underwhelmed. I mean, when I first saw the P1, I instantly fell in love. It's like I was under some sort of spell. This just, I mean, maybe it's the new design language or the weird two-tone kind of color scheme. It doesn't look like a McLaren to me. And it just, not to beat a dead horse, the two-tone isn't helping at all. I want to like it, I really do, because I love McLaren. But it's kind of the same way I feel about the Senna. I get that it's special, but it's just not quite my style. Like the back end, for instance. The Senna GTR, though, does look really cool. Carwow puts the V8 C63 AMG against the 4-cylinder C63 AMG in a drag race. And I gotta say, the results are disappointing. But also, if the V8 is a 4-liter twin-turbo engine and the other is a 2-liter 4-banger, then what the heck does the 63 and C63 stand for? I thought 63 was the displacement. I don't understand.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe yourself.
What's your dream car? A Murcielago? A P1? A Koenigsegg? Or are you like the crew at Daily Driven Exotics and just want to do your own thing? The McLaren 720 GTR and the twin-turbo F12 Tire Slayer are what happens when hypercars simply don't capture your imagination as much anymore. Hey all, welcome to Vroom News. So, let's talk about the key points on the latest iteration of the Daily Driven Exotics 720 GTR McLaren. You've got a wide body kit from Duke Dynamics that makes the car look like the love child of a 720 GT3 race car and the P1 GTR. The front end looks less like a shark nose now, which I'm actually cool with. The back end, to emulate the P1 GTR look, has a massive chassis mounted wing, a gold tip dual exhaust, and the whole rear end is opened up. And if you thought that was cool, wait until you realize that the color you're seeing right now isn't actually the color in real life. That's because what's happening here is the car is such a bright pink, cameras simply can't pick it up properly. So it comes in as this light reddish orangish color. The color is a 1-to-1 match of the original pink used on McLaren Lark race car liveries. But what's great is that it's actually a wrap offered by Innosatech, so you don't need to worry about spending tens of thousands of dollars on several layers of bespoke paint, off-gassing the paint, and maintaining the paint, which I think is super cool. This car has been through a lot. It lost an engine at one point. Some kid smashed into it with a Hellcat. Who the heck buys their kid a Hellcat? Anyways, and now here we are. They've still got to dial it in, but honestly, I don't think they need to ever get a P1 now, because they have this. Because no one else will ever have a 720 GTR. Everyone remembers the Huracan. Tons of horsepower, turbos and exhaust tips sticking out of the hood, crazy slides and stunts, and wild burnouts. Well, this obviously captured the imagination of one Damon Fryer. And so he, in partnership with FD champion Mike Essa, created the Daily Driven Exotics Twin Turbo F12, a rear-wheel drive Gymkhana car. And this car has everything. Turbo sticking out of the hood, a built Ferrari F12 V12 made with the help of D-Sport, a quick change diff, straight cut geared transmission, 3 pedals, a gutted interior, custom exhaust manifolds, an insane intake. The list goes on. The only thing that's left is to figure out some kind of crazy exterior package to come up with, and to come up with a cool livery. It's kind of interesting, because now whenever I see an F12 on the road, or, you know, there's a guy in town not far from me who has a very kind of regular, I guess, looking gray one, it just looks so off. I'm used to thinking of the twin-turbo F12 whenever I think of F12s. So when I see a regular one, it's kind of weird. And I'll tell you what, I'm pretty happy the boys and their cars are registered in Canada because they don't have to worry about emissions choking up their cars or the EPA coming after them trying to give them tens of thousands of dollars of fines. Granted, that might not have to be a thing we need to worry about anymore. Well, we'll see. The president hasn't dismantled the EPA and the Clean Air Act yet, so I can't straight pipe all my race cars yet or do a DPF delete on a modern semi-truck. Well, maybe at some point. I mean, how cool would that be? Just for a second. Straight piping a 2024 Kenworth W900 or a 2025 Kenworth W900 Legacy Edition? That sounds kind of fun. I've often wondered, maybe it would be kind of fun to also just, I don't know why I'm thinking of this, to design a supercar, do something with a company like SLC, kind of like how they made the replica supercars for the Need for Speed movie. I do have a list of model names that I think would be really cool too. I'd also enjoy, my kid's on fire again. I'd also enjoy designing a muscle car too. All right, so if you guys were to build a supercar, and I guess a muscle car, what would be the manufacturer? What would you call it? And what would the model names be? Just brainstorm out there. I'm not going to steal your ideas, but it's a fun conversation to have. And for extra credit, tell me what engine you'd use, like a Coyote or something from like the Audi 4.2 V8 or something. Tell me now. Brian Supra is back for filming. Richard Hammond and James May return to the Top Gear HQ. And finally, which would you rather drive? A Ford GT40 or a McLaren F1? All that and more on today's episode of Room News. I'm losing my voice. I need to stop doing that. Do you like RX-8s? Well, you'll probably like this one. On a recent episode of The Fast Life with the one and only Craig Lieberman, who I hope is on his road to recovery with his ALS, on his YouTube channel, he covers the rediscovery of Mila's blue and black two-tone Veilside, I believe, Mazda RX-8 from Tokyo Drift. I feel like this car is underrated, I'm not gonna lie. It actually looks really freaking cool. Brian Supra is back for filming. The just-driven replica of the orange Supra, which is a 1-to-1 historically accurate build, is making an appearance in Fast 11. As far as its role in the film goes, I don't really know, but I am excited. And also, just for bonus points, Just Driven is also building an accurate replica of the Too Fast, Too Furious Skyline, and I am super stoked about that. They need to partner up with HPS Fabworks to make it sound perfect. I know the real car in real life was twin-turboed, but to make that Too Fast, Too Furious sound, go to HPS. You gotta do it. Over the years, manufacturers have rolled a handful of cars off the production lines with paint colors that truly capture the imagination of the automotive enthusiast. There's Midnight Purple, Mr. Chrome, Midnight Purple 2. Why are the only colors I can think of just different versions of purple? Well, anyways, we have another version of purple. Well, anyways, Shmee has found, after I guess a long time, the Cerberus Pearl McLaren P1. This is a super stunning car. I mean, you guys know I love a good P1, but a P1 with a cool color? All for it. The only color from McLaren that I like more than this one is the Merlin Black that we saw on that McLaren Senna all those years ago. I don't even know where that car is anymore. Probably locked away in a vault. I don't know how you how would you do a paint correction on that? I have no idea. But otherwise, you know, hey, this car is nuts. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't like it as well, but I would definitely put the Lanzante HDK kit on this car. Not that it necessarily needs it. The aero on this car and the power this car has from factory is absolutely astounding. 900 horsepower, no turbo lag, ridiculously light for what it is as a hybrid supercar, and it looks absolutely timeless. Tell you what, I love me a good Ford GT, but a GT40? Come on, can you imagine driving a GT40 today? Well, that dude in blue got to do just that.
Out of all of them, Mustangs, Camaros, Barracudas, all that stuff, this was just always on a whole different level. I'm very excited. Huge thanks to Eric who owns this car. He was kind enough to let me rip this around town real quick.
I'll let David do most of the explaining, but basically this isn't a kit car. This uses the original GT40 molds. The car gets built, certified, and by all tangible forms of measurement, metrics of measurement, is a proper, authentic Ford GT40 that will function just like the originals. You just won't have to be killed by loan sharks to get it.
And this was sold by Downforce Motorsports. They are a dealer of Superformance. It's not a kit car. What it is they take the original moldings and the original metal and all that stuff. Shelby approves it, and then they build these cars. So they are to the spec of the original ones.
Here's my question. Would you want the original engine in this? I mean, probably, actually. Or would you want something more modern and more powerful? Like a modern Ford GT V8, or perhaps a supercharged Coyote, maybe? Or what about the 750 horsepower Predator engine? Or maybe the GT350 engine, like a Voodoo, like a flat plane crank V8. I mean, you guys are probably thinking, no, you fool, you blasphemer. So, on a previous episode of the Ice Age, we talked about a McLaren F1 LM replica. Well, Shmee got to drive the real thing. And man, this car is the end game right here. There are only two cars on the planet that sit above the P1 for me, especially the P1 GTR, which is the pinnacle, like a slight shade more special. Are cars like the Koenigsegg Agera R and RS and the McLaren F1 LM. The papaya orange paint, the race car exterior, the BMW S70/2 V12, the classic supercar headlights, the quad tail lights. Hashtag bring back quad tail lights. It is such a perfect recipe. I can't remember where, but I think one time I saw a McLaren F1 with a sequential as well. And man, that'd be fun. Imagine taking that to a track. Awesome machine, and props to Shmee for keeping his cool driving a part of actual driving automotive history. Now, I don't think Shmee ever got on it too hard. He didn't want to abuse it, neither would I, but that obviously doesn't stop some people. Like this guy drifting in F40 on some snow and ice. Get ready for some seriously surreal nostalgia. Richard Hammond and James May have returned to the Top Gear HQ to walk around their old rooms where they wrote scripts, brainstormed, and got ready for the live segments. I'll tell you what, the building kind of reminds me of the buildings at my school in the UK that I think were supposed to be temporary, but ended up just staying. I remember some of the teachers being mad and fighting each other over parking spots because it took over some of the car park. Kind of weird to think that some of us grew up watching this show. Well, it's not weird. It's just, it's nostalgia is what I'm feeling. I was fortunate enough to actually be in the UK from 2010 to 2012. And I remember for one of my friend's birthdays, I got to go to a special live Top Gear kind of show in London that the trio did, where people were driving cars around on like a little stage, like an ice rink size kind of stage. They were telling jokes. People even did a few stunts. Someone like jumped over a supercar as it was speeding towards them. It was neat. I still have the BBC lanyard from it as well. By the way, is anyone excited for the Not Very Grand Tour? Why did you guys send this to me? Oh, geez, it's a can opener. It's even marked 12.4. How do you mess that up? Did you get your CDL out of a cereal box? Anyways, tragedy strikes After decades of being an icon of the trucking industry, today we say goodbye to a legend. This is Vroom News. So I've been doing all sorts of research, right? I really want to get my own truck at some point, and a trailer to haul all of my cars around in. Well, maybe not one of those big double-decker trailers, something like a 3-car trailer, not one of those double stackers. As long as it's enclosed, that's cool. In case you didn't know this about me, I have an unrestricted Class A CDL. And I've always thought it would be really cool to have my own rig. Initially, I thought of getting something like a modern Peterbilt 389, like this one. It would be really cool, I think. Something with modern amenities, potentially a nice automatic transmission. I doubt many people would go for that, though, in this community when it comes to the trucking industry. But I'm also trying to preserve my left leg and save it for 3-pedal cars rather than trucks, though floating gears doesn't. You know what I mean? I'd rather the workhorse be the easy vehicle to drive and the fun cars be the more engaging ones. Or I could say to heck with that and just man up and get a manual truck and get something like a 379 instead that has also just no stupid after treatment stuff, no DPF, no DEF, none of that crap that breaks all the time. I mean, it'll sound cooler. I'd love one with a 10-speed because the 10-speed is the one I have the most fun with. I think I just want, to make sure it has some headroom. I do kind of like the old school interiors these trucks, have. It feels kind of like it's a bygone era on the inside of one of these. If I could, I would add some amenities that you find in more modern, newer trucks. A way to charge my laptops without killing the truck, nice AC and heaters, good functional cruise control, and then after that, I'm set. But if I wanted to go to the nines, I could do something crazy like this built 379 right here, nicknamed Quiet Earp. Could make the exterior super clean and murderous, do something crazy with the interior, the whole 9 yards. That said, though, this looks like more than $250,000 of work and customization. I will just say that. But I really love the rectangular headlights that this truck has over the stuff you'd have on like a 389, I guess. The like a teardrop shape almost, kind of more rounded. One other thing that I think every truck needs is if you're someone like me who travels a lot with a ton of electronics and you always have them plugged in, I feel like some form of optimized idle to keep everything running okay, without keeping the batteries from being drained while I'm parked for 10 hours or more is essential. And just to explain, what optimized idle does is, I would say it's one of the most important features you can have with a truck. So when it comes to the electronics being plugged into everything, what it will do is when the batteries reach a certain low threshold, it will start the engine, charge everything back up, and then, while it's idling, and then it'll stop idling, stop the engine, and we'll be all good. You can just keep editing, playing video games, watching TV, whatever it is you want to do. But the other thing is that it can help with keeping you comfortable. So let's say you're in Nebraska, like in the areas where I used to drive, where let's just say it's -15 out, because screw you. Well, when you turn on the heater, your engine is going to start because you will have chosen basically a target temperature you want the cabin to be at. And in order to get there, the engine will need to start, get everything going so that it can get there faster. And then what will happen is once it reaches a threshold near that target temperature, the engine will stop, but the AC will keep working, obviously. And the inverse of that is if you're, say, somewhere really hot, like Arizona or whatever, I don't know, and you want to turn on the AC and you set that target temperature to something low, the truck's going to recognize, probably need to start the engine to get things going so that you don't cook yourself. And then once it gets to a certain threshold, the engine will turn off. And then over time, as you're sleeping or whatever, the truck may turn on occasionally just to kind of allow it to constantly maintain that temperature that you've set it at. And I'd want that in an older truck, ideally. And I may have discovered an aftermarket solution. Idle Smart. And here's the thing, in my opinion, if I could get something like optimized idle onto, working on something like an older truck that's pre-def, pre-DPF, and all that sort of stuff, I would never need a new rig. Just less stuff on it to break. The ATS stuff is always what breaks, but I definitely would want to be comfortable. So I would still add, other stuff. I got some bad news, boys. I may have cursed us all because just as I discovered the Kenworth W900 and fell in love with it, Kenworth announced that they would be discontinuing the W900 due to increasingly stringent emissions regulations. An icon of the roads and the industry is now being put to rest after decades of service. And by the way, I had no idea the truck had so many appearances in media. I didn't realize the W900 was so prolific in Hollywood. You got James Bond, Smokey and the Bandit, crazy cool stuff. I think I am now probably more leaning towards a W900 over a Peterbilt these days. There's just something about them that I like just a little bit more. And I did at one point see one that I really like. It was a 1998 with a 10-speed. And I think it was a Cummins. I'm pretty sure. It could have been a Cat, though. I'm not sure. Can't remember. But it was nice. It was all black, too. So it looked very mean. Very old school. Like super Hollywood-esque. But there's also a newer one. If the president gets rid of the Clean Air Act, and the EPA loses its authority to hand out fines, which I don't think they ever actually had in the first place, I'll just get a modern W900 and just do a full straight pipe on it. Imagine getting a 2025 Legacy Edition and straight piping that. That would be kind of cool. I know a lot of people prefer the older trucks because you don't have to deal with DPF and DEF. But if you can get a newer truck with all the amenities and all the comfort, and then you get rid of the ATS, I feel like that's pretty cool. And honestly, sometimes I'm leaning towards just thinking I'm kind of fine with the EPA getting the axe. Because, if I'm honest with you, I think the EPA was maybe 5 years away from having their own Ruby Ridge or their own Waco disaster. What would probably happen is someone would be building some race cars or whatever, and they'd show up on the EPA's radar for whatever superfluous reason, and the EPA would probably just show up and zipper everyone with a bunch of Uzis or something. And before you say, Tom, the government would never do that. Let's not manifest it. Because, yes, they would.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
A NASCAR R5P7 powered Plymouth Superbird? Oh, a 1,000 horsepower RB30R34? Oh, and you'll never expect this. A K-swapped Subaru? All this and more on today's episode of Room News. If you're looking to build an M3 GTR on a budget, then maybe this is the setup for you. I found this build being presented by Drenth on their YouTube channel. It's an E46 M3, it's powered by an LS3, mated to a Drenth straight-cut geared sequential transmission. If you want to know which particular one it is the DG500. It's about 10 grand, I think, give or take a couple grand. Kind of inconsequential there. Great value, though, for a transmission if you don't need something with a crazy high torque rating. Weston Champlin.
This is a motor out of an upside-down motorhome. It doesn't run well.
We all love his stuff. I know I do. And this is his 1968 Dodge Charger. And in this video, he is putting in a 1,500 horsepower engine into it. Looks like it's some sort of Hellcat crate motor, but with a massive blower on it. Oh yeah. I imagine that the engine has probably been built. Can a Hellcat engine make 1500 on stock internals? I'm not a Mopar guy, so I have no idea. But anyways, it sounded super cool, right until the manifold popped off.
My gosh. What the hell? That intake is in half.
That's not good.
Never seen that before. I'll tell you what, though. The video where Weston hosts his own burnout show at SEMA, that was great shenanigans to watch. Okay, no one told me he had such a sick Peterbilt. It actually took me a hot minute to realize that this is the rollover wrecked truck, the blue one that he rescued ages ago. It looks super cool. I mean, he's basically doing exactly what I want to do with my CDL. I mean, I'd love a W900 and a trailer to haul all my cars in. I guess I just won't be the first YouTuber to do that. Oh well. Sick truck though. And once again, the Smokestang is definitely still my favorite car from his fleet. It's like the ultimate spectacle mobile. It blows black smoke everywhere, and it shreds tires down into quark matter. Pretty crazy stuff. Kind of wild to think that I used to be so close to where he's based. I used to drive through Kansas all the time. Dominic Toretto, eat your heart out because Amelia Hartford has done something pretty cool. She previously purchased, a while back, a barn find Plymouth Superbird replica. It was a Plymouth with a wing on it for like one of the old wing cars. And then, not long after that, she purchased an R5P7 powered NASCAR stock car chassis and decided to blend them together. Basically what she did is she removed the NASCAR Cup car style exterior from the Cup car chassis, which she then had to extend the race car chassis so that she could drop the Superbird body on top of it, making it into a NASCAR spec Plymouth Superbird of sorts, with the powertrain, the drivetrain, and I would assume a pretty good chassis. The whole 9 yards. I honestly am very impressed with how good it looks, how it turned out. Even with the front end not on it yet, it actually looks really freaking crazy without the front end on it. And it sounds absolutely wild. I love high-revving cross-plane V8s. They sound so cool. Like old school, proper American muscle. I mean, that's how it should sound, at least in my head. When I think American muscle, I think high-revving RPM, true dual, or kind of that early X-pipe they have on Cup cars out the side with the boom tubes. To me, that is what an American V8 should sound like. That is the epitome, ultimate expression of American horsepower.
What? This is the most absurd thing I think you've ever done.
I can't wait to see how it looks when it's finished.
This is the setup here, posted up with the team.
All right, so it's been a hot minute since we last talked about these guys, but Lee Bird over at Monster Performance has been doing a few new things. What is happening to my voice? He's still got the 1,000 horsepower R34 with the RB30, but he's now also got an R34 sedan daily driver. Pretty cool idea, and pretty affordable if you think about it. Those sedans are not expensive. And it sounds really cool too. His magnum opus, though, will always be the R34, with that RB30 powered, PPG sequential, if I remember correctly, R35 GTR metallic red, Haltech ECU, and he even did the quarter panels properly. All steel, no fiberglass to be found. When I say Subaru WRX, what do you picture in your mind? A bug eye, a blob eye, a hawk eye, whatever the others are, Stink Eye, Evo Eye, or Raptor Eye, or whatever it is. Maybe, but maybe you picture a rally car. How many of you pictured something like this. Well, this is a GC8, and this GC8 may look like a 22B, but it actually started out in life as an RS, but was built into a RSTI. In this That Dude in Blue video, David talks about how usually when people hear the name WRX, they think of a fun, sporty sedan, making this WRX build a rather unique gem. It's blob-eye swapped, when it comes to the powertrain, has all the proper 22B exterior parts, is painted a really pretty blue, and makes 450 horsepower. So it's a really pretty blue blur most of the time. But that's the Goldilocks number for a car like this, I imagine. 450 horsepower is probably right at the sweet spot. I think it's a really cool idea. We never got anything like this in the States, from the factory. So a build like this is always fun to see. Someone emulating a car that is essentially forbidden fruit for us.
We have this nice lightning yellow GTT.
When is the last time you saw a yellow sports car? This is a weird segment, but maybe it's just my own personal experience or perspective. I don't know. But I feel like nowadays, yellow is an underused color. Remember when all Lambos were that signature yellow pearl metallic? I mean, that's the example that comes to mind anyways. I just think yellow looks really good, and I wish I could see more of it, especially on things like this GTT. It's a color you can get on GTRs too. But then everyone started using orange for like a few years in the early 2010s. That was really interesting. Started seeing orange everywhere for a little while.
If you were going to engine swap a Subaru, what would you swap into it?
Whatever that motor is, sounds mint. But if you were to also ask this gentleman that question on the Black Thumb YouTube channel, his answer would be a Honda K-Series.
Oh.
Holy shit, that was loud.
Oh my god, that was loud.
I bet when it goes by, this build makes all the car guys do a double take when they hear it. Like, was that a Subaru? But it sounded like a turbo Honda. And then they have to start taking their crazy pills. Also, I love how the engine is sticking out of the hood. I wonder what this car would look like with a cowled hood to kind of make up for that. I don't know. I feel like the cowl would have to be really big looking at how it's sticking out. Fun stuff though, man. A really cool idea. It finally happened, boys! No longer do you need to build an even-fired 5.2 or buy a first-gen Gallardo to get a beautiful F1 sound out of your Lambo or Audi V10. The 5.2 has finally been given the opportunity to sing. And it's all thanks to the Secret Weapon Fab exhaust system. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Vroom News. As you can tell, that is a second-gen Audi R8 with the 5.2 going full tilt, and it sounds absolutely nothing like the regular cars. The pitch and note is on another level. Now let's switch over to the Huracan platform. Here we've got the best of the best in STO. I feel like the tunnel actually kind of messes it up a little bit, but it's so much closer to that OG 5.0 V10 or something even like a classic LFA or a Carrera GT kind of sound. Hearing it in the lower rev ranges is really cool. It makes me feel like I'm in the early 2010s or the mid-2000s era of supercars. It makes me feel like I should be watching, like, old school UK Top Gear or something. Now I'm feeling nostalgic. I'm definitely going to watch some Top Gear after I do this recording. I'm very easily swayed by my own subconscious, apparently. It almost just kind of, it sounds like an actual old school F1 car, just not with a crazy high red line, pretty much. Kind of makes me think of the Gintani F1 exhaust for the Aventador platform. Very interesting. Man, I am so glad I do not live in a state with emissions testing anymore. You would never get away with having something like this in my hometown, or something like Georgia, or California. Could you imagine someone tried to get away with having this in California? Carb would be having their own version of the Waco siege. I think I've made that joke before. It's kind of true, though. Man, that's cool. I love how this is really only starting to hit the mainstream after the V10 got discontinued. Like, we're seeing this on late model R8s and Huracan STOs. It took this long for this to happen? The 5.2 was introduced ages ago. I guess that's the only drawback to the design of this system, is that it just seems to be extremely loud. I can't quite tell how loud, though, obviously, but hopefully not to the point where the car is unusable. That honestly sounds so really good. I also just found a video of an STO with this system being driven on a track. Have a listen. Sounds really good on the inside, too. Those downshifts, they sound sick. What do you guys think? Everyone is chasing the F1 sound these days, and I'm starting to see it, you know, with everything. And I wonder if over time people could start to get kind of fatigued by this sound, and people, at least on the internet anyways, they start to kind of get sick of it because everyone is doing this stuff. Everyone is chasing this sound. I mean, with the Aventador, for instance, I prefer actually a Capristo exhaust on something like an SV. I don't think the Aventador necessarily, I don't think every Aventador needs to sound like an F1 car. However, it does seem to kind of suit the SVJ for whatever reason. I'll admit it. I'll admit that. But then the downside is if every car gets modified like that, you'll never get to hear how the engineers created it and how they made it sound from the factory. And they don't sound bad from the factory. So I don't know if that's like something to be wary of, or to kind of almost be like, oh wow, it's a stock SVJ. This is a weird thing for me to be saying, because I really like modifying cars, and I'm going, wow, a stock SVJ, that's quite special. What is happening to me? I don't know. It's food for thought. I'm not sure what the thought is, but it's a thought. Speaking of thoughts, not the kind. I wanted to go to, oh my god. I wanted to go to my posts on my channel. Adblock is acting like antivirus software, or virus software. It's getting in the way. I did a whole bunch of polls, all right? I did 2 polls about the Huracan. Like, if I were to do a YouTuber style build of a Huracan, what would you guys rather see? And so I chose OEM plus STO stock body, which basically just means I would get an STO Huracan, but I would get rid of the factory wing and put the actual race car wing on, because the factory wing is too small and it doesn't go over the back of the bumper. The race car wing would. If I got the normal narrow body Super Trofeo version, it would look very good. Or the other option was a full custom wide body with a racing livery, with like a chassis mounted wing. And you guys were like, no. Over 70% of you said, do the STO. Then I did another one, just to be clear, because I found a company that does the body kit from the Super Trofeo Evo 2, which is basically just a wide body version of the Evo rear-wheel drive street cars, because it has the same style front bumper. So I really like that. So I was like, again, chassis mount wing burnout car versus Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. Over 80% of you went with the Super Trofeo. So I just think that's so interesting, because those bumper deletes and those wings were all over automotive YouTube, all over it, back in 2018 and 2019. And that's just clearly, people aren't hot for that anymore. I mean, the one poll about the STO and the wide body got like almost 500 votes, and still over 70% said STO. So that's not in anymore. No one's hot for that. I also did a poll to pick a color for an Aventador, and everyone said Viola Parsife. I put Marron Eclipsis, which we'll talk about in a future episode. I put Giallo Orion, Viola Parsife, and Blue Lyle. Blue Lyle came last. What? I did not see that coming. Boosting your 911 GT3 RS. Should you do it? And if so, should you twin turbo it or supercharge it? Or should you just get a GT2 RS and call it a day? Welcome, everyone. Room News. Now, before we get started, with the title of the video, I want to ask you guys a question. It's very interesting to me. You see, let's take a look at this kind of homage Porsche GT1 that was put together by Vale Automotive, one of the many GT1 tributes. There are several others as well, but this is the one I have chosen for now. Just to ask a question, what would a actual from the factory OEM 911 GT1 look like today? What would you want from it? And what would a 911 GT1 RS do to really push the envelope to also, surpass something like a GT2? Can Porsche really put something together that could possibly top the old 991 911 GT2 RS MR? Because that would be the benchmark, I feel like. And honestly, that's a pretty hard thing to do. And I like the 991 GT2 RS. It's got to be said. And I'm a BMW guy. I mean, talking about other GT1 tributes, but maybe the Tutil GT1 is all we need, but I don't think so. At the very least, what Porsche could do if they wanted to be kind of, how do I put this, cost effective about it, is what they could do is after they've built the 992 GT2 RS, what they could do is, since that car is rear-wheel drive, unless if I'm mistaken, they could take the GT2 RS platform with the turbocharged engine and, all of the handling performance and all that stuff, and make it all-wheel drive using the technology of the GT3, but combined with the turbocharged engine, and call that the GT1 RS. Have it basically just be an all-wheel drive version of the GT2 RS, and give it just a body, an exterior that pays homage to the last version of the 911 GT1. I think that would be insane. Now, head on over to Gintani if you have a GT3 RS, because if you want more power, but you don't want a GT2 RS, because you'd rather your car be all-wheel drive, they will twin turbo your car, and it'll still sound good, because you can still rev it to the sky. Have a listen. That right there is how the GT2 RS should sound. The high revving just solves everything. The turbos on the GT2 are actually too loud. You can't hear the motor at all. It is muffled beyond recognition. Is it just me, or does this car almost have the kind of audio undertones similar to a certain turbo kit or a certain tuner car we always find ourselves talking about on this channel? Just me?
We did a 91 meth pull. The car made 718 wheel horsepower on 91 meth.
Okay, 718 wheel horsepower on a 91 meth tune, that just blows the GT2 RS out of the water. Granted, I don't know how far you can push the GT2 RS when you're tuning it.
This is on 6.5 pounds of boost. And when we put the 5-gallon E85 map in the car, I'd see we made 781 wheel horsepower.
Jesus Christ.
Stock to a 91 5-gallon mix E-file, the car gained 300 wheel horsepower.
Tell you what, I'm in, because that sounds wild. But should you put a GT2 RS kit on it? I think the GT2 exterior just looks a little better, unless if there's a way to get that 935 slant nose front bumper that they did for the front end, because that would be cool too. I think putting a GT2 exterior on that GT3 now that it's twin turboed, I think makes a lot of sense. It just looks so much better. Gintani just never fails, man. Also, remember that secret weapon fab exhaust system that I talked about? The one for the Huracan? Well, imagine if they created like a twin turbo version of that. You would literally have the sound that old school underground racing cars used to make. You would have, this is the sound of underground, sort of energy. Underground cars don't make that sound anymore. Anyways, back to the Porsche. The turbos are not choking out the engine sound. That's my whole issue with the GT2 RS. It sounds so good. And I know all of my BMW viewers are probably lighting their pitchforks. Lighting torches and getting their pitchforks. I can feel it. It really does sound like a tuner car. Tell you what though, I am adding the 991 GT3 RS to the list, Gintani. You are now part of the grand plan. We're gonna twin turbo GT3 RS, put a GT2 RS body kit on it, and paint it like Ruby Star or something, and it will be nuts. Oh my God. We could put the MR kit on it as well. That would be really cool. That would be outrageously expensive. The Manti Racing package is super expensive. All right, we can't go wrong with a TRC video. Yes, that's right. Someone finally supercharged the 991 GT3 RS using the kit from RR Racing, which is claimed to add about 200 to 240 wheel horsepower. So 220 wheels, about 300-ish crank. I'm not sure. Maybe 350. That makes the GT3 RS almost 700 crank horsepower with this package. And relax, math isn't about precision or anything like that. It's not a science. But it is my understanding that you can also use this kit, turn up your car, to basically have a 911 GT3 RS be on the same level as a GT2 RS. But you get the benefits of the all-wheel drive and the crazy high RPM sound. Because let's face it, the GT2 RS, again, just doesn't sound very good. It's supercharged, not turbocharged. Crazy thing about supercharging cars like this is it doesn't change the character of the car at all. The sound remains the same. It just becomes so much faster. It's like the supercharger kits you can get for things like the E46 M3, E92 M3, the Huracans, and the R8s. And they all just add a couple hundred horsepower, and they just really wake the cars up.
From the factory, these things make what, like 400 horsepower or something?
So the wheels, they make them on average like around 420 wheel.
I did not know that.
Right now with the supercharger kit, it's at about 620 wheel.
That's a really good number. 600 wheel is the Goldilocks number for pretty much any street car. Perfect number. Man, this is a hard choice to make. Do Do you go twin turbo or supercharger? I mean, who are you calling? Gintani, RR Racing, or Ghostbusters? That probably wasn't funny. Let me know in the comments. Dual clutch? 6-speed manual? Sequential? Gated? What is your transmission of choice? I'm personally an Eaton Fuller 18-speed kind of guy. Just put a goddamn semi-truck transmission in my Honda Civic, and I'll just fast and furious my way to victory, baby. Anyways, roll the intro. The Lamborghini Murcielago LP. As a kid, while I thought this was a really cool car, I never would have imagined so many people would be coming forward in the future to say that this car is one of the greatest, if not the greatest car of all time. People who have driven Koenigsegg's, Carrera GTs, you know, not the McLaren F1, not the Ferrari F40, none of that. The Murcielago is the pinnacle for so many people. And apparently, its position on the podium gets even more solidified if it's equipped with a gated 6-speed transmission. Apparently, that experience, I've never driven one, is penultimate. There's apparently just something about it. And it's just something we haven't seen in a car since it got discontinued. Well, the boys over at EAG, the #1 place to go to have your classic supercar converted to manual, have converted a Lamborghini Murcielago from E-Gear, automatic, to a 6-speed gated manual, which for those of you who don't know, can save you a ton of money if a manual Mercy is what you truly want. The conversion is about $45,000. But think about it. You know, I hopped onto Auto Trader, and a 2007 Murcielago LP640 automatic is about $300,000 with 22,000 miles. Now, when I look for a manual, well, there's only one, and it's for sale at Royalty Exotic Cars. So I'm pretty sure it's actually the old DDE Murcielago. Pretty sure that's Damon's car. Well, it's listed for $850,000. I'm kind of surprised that there aren't more out there being listed. I remember there being quite a few. I guess just they all got bought or taken off the market or something. Well, either way, it's a lot cheaper to buy an E-Gear car because $300,000 and, you know, convert it, and then you add $50,000 to what the car has costed you, what you put into it. That's still a lot less than $800,000. I thought it was going to be something more like $500,000 or $600,000. But, you know, either way, it's cheaper, obviously. It's kind of like those manual transmission conversions that you do with like the E46 M3s and the E60 M5s. Because, you know, the E-Gear Murcielago is an automatic robotic manual transmission that is just actuated by either hydraulics or something else. You get rid of all the hydraulic mechanisms and you add the hardware for the manual version. I think you have to do an ECU tune as well. And then you just have a manual car. I mean, it sounds simple, but it's $50,000 later, and someone had to do the R&D. You're saving a lot of money versus buying a factory one. And also, I just checked, just out of curiosity, to see what the price of an SV Murcielago is, a 670-4, and it's over $1 million. God dang, boys. I knew it would be high, but I didn't know it would be that high. I thought maybe an automatic SV would be, you know, $700,000, $800,000, something like that. That's what they were like maybe a year or two ago, I think. Not over $1 million. $1 million? Good grief, what would a manual one go for? All right, moving on to the more relatable stuff. Kind of, I guess. I mean, GTRs are abhorrently expensive now, so they're not really relatable anymore. The R34 GTR especially is just a rich person car now. Not really an enthusiast car as much anymore. But I wanted to ask you, if you were partnered up with a company like HTG, the people who do all the cool aftermarket gearbox swap stuff and have like all the GCUs, what would you do if you had to choose between a 7-speed dual clutch or an 8-speed ZF transmission to put into your GTR or GTT, doesn't matter. I imagine a lot of you would go for the dual clutch, and I can understand why. Well, before you do make that choice, check this out. Observe the shifts of this 8-speed equipped R33 and tell me what you think.
8 HP 17.
I did not expect that first gear change to be that spicy. Was that a fireball pop when I heard him do that upshift? Am I missing something? I thought the ZF was like a torque converted kind of transmission. How can there even be excess fuel to be burned when shifting? Is the timing being cut for the shifts? I need to learn more about how fueling works on these kinds of gearboxes. Man's shifting the GTR like a Honda driver. Jokes aside, maybe I'm hearing just a rev limiter or something? It sounds insane though, and there really isn't that much of a delay between him pulling the lever, or lever, I can't remember which one I prefer to say, and the gear change actually happening. That's kind of more what I was expecting the shift to sound like. Just buttery, silky smooth.
Guys, what is this? This is... Mate, I love this. I love this. What a twist.
I just wish that people would show off the downshift more. I really want to hear what these RB engines sound like being downshifted like a supercar. I want to hear that rev matching, that throttle blip. I want to hear what it sounds like on an RB. All right, so now it's time for the dual clutch. Yes, that's right. What you just saw there was a supercar-style launch control being used in a DCT-equipped Skyline. And I gotta wonder, how durable are these DCTs? Like, can you just launch them over and over and over again and not have to worry about breaking things anywhere near as much as you would with, you know, when you're launching a manual? Because that's always been kind of the concern, I think. You know, doing races from a dig, it's pretty hard on your car. At least that's what people tell me when they say they'd rather roll race. Not as harsh on your car. I feel like a DCT could help a lot of people win races from a dig, or at least between the lights. I mean, the launch control and the lightning fast shifts could make up for a horsepower deficit between you and the other car. I'm surprised no one has named their car Kettle Corn yet if they have a popcorn tune. But hey, this is a 700 horsepower DCT equipped R33. Again, it just makes sense, and thanks to the folks at HDG, it's no longer ridiculously complicated to do swaps like this. Like, it used to be so tricky if you wanted to do something like put a dual clutch in an E46 M3 or some other car. You had to do all this insanely complicated custom wiring. Now this just gives the technology to everybody, which again, someone had to do the R&D, and it's so cool. Smoking tires on a dyno is wild. Okay, a gentleman over at Original Auto, who has done a few DCT swaps already, wanted me to watch this Roads Untraveled video of their DCT swapped Lexus GS, mainly because I was curious how aggressive you could make a DCT shift. Like, does it have to be buttery smooth all the time? Or can you make it more clunky and maybe a little slower so that there's more drama in the driving experience? Maybe even dump some extra fuel between gear changes if you can do that. Like, I don't know how it works, because don't DCTs kind of pre-select gears? There's no actual cut? I'm not sure. I don't know if that's even possible, but it would be sick if you could do it. Again, I don't know how it works. Those gear changes are lightning fast. And also, I can't get this build idea out of my head, but I really want to take an old 4Runner and 3UZ swap it. That could be a fun budget build one day. But I also think it'd be kind of cool to put like a ZF 8-speed in there. See what that does for like the fuel economy. You know, if you're going 65 miles an hour with a 3UZ in 8th, would that help? Kind of interesting. I think it'd be kind of neat to find out. For science. I don't know why, but I never thought to turbo one of these engines. Well, now thanks to companies like HTG, theoretically, you could make any car shift like that. Bro, imagine, I mean, no one would do this, but imagine making like a Murcielago shift like that. Say you don't want the E-gear, but you don't want the manual. What if you just put a 7-speed dual clutch into the car? Really change the character of the car. It might ruin it, actually. I think Mercies deserve to be manual, so just scratch that. I think there's a pop or a bang on upshift, but I'm not sure, honestly.
Of a modern dual clutch.
Are you guys starting to figure out which one you would pick? 7-speed dual clutch or 8-speed ZF? Who would have thought that this would be an option? Drivetrain swaps, all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, dual clutches, 8 speeds in 90s tuner cars? Wild out here, man. The only thing I don't like about some of these DCT swaps is that people sometimes just include the OEM BMW shift knob, which I imagine they do just for simplicity, but it feels wrong. It looks weird. It looks out of place. However, HTG, I believe, has a CAN keypad for controlling the functions of the gearbox, combined with a sequential shifter. All that just makes much more sense, and it looks a lot cooler, in my honest opinion. Also, again, I'm a little scared to admit this, but being able to throw your crazy supercar or just fast street car into automatic and chill when you're in traffic does sound kind of nice. Like being able to just drive in your R34, it looks super cool, and you just want to chill and not have to think and just focus on maintaining good following distance in traffic. Pop it into auto. You're not doing anything adventurous. Just bump some tunes or whatever. Just chill, whatever the situation is. But then when you're really ready to get on it, step on it and go, you can give it the sauce in manual, hell, or leave it automatic and have just perfect shifts. And when you have room or some curvy roads, I bet those dual clutch downshifts on an RB26 in a canyon would feel pretty crisp. YouTubers, they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff, from getting their SCCA racing license, buying a Koenigsegg Agera R in the US somehow, or getting gaslit by the CHP police, which I guess is just par for the course now. All that and more on today's episode of Vroom News. So, how do you get your racing license? What is this voice? Well, you could start where that dude in blue started, if you're not one of those people that just started racing at the age of 5 with go-karts and all that crap, with the stereotypical F1 career track. He went to Primal Racing School, where they use radical SR1s to teach you and get you a full-fledged, full SCCA competition license. You can get like levels, so you can go all the way to the full-fledged ultimate. I don't know I think you can use that license to get into something like IMSA. I mean, that's what I would want to do if I got a racing license. I'd love to see if I could get into IMSA. Really cool stuff. Not a bad way to get your driver mod as well. And I really do want to do this at some point. I have the itch. Remember when I drove that Huracan on track? I got the itch driving that Huracan on track back in Illinois. And I just want to improve my skill set now. I want to get really good at driving on track. I feel like it only makes sense. And also just massive props for David to getting to top of the podium on his first race in a Radical SR1 against some drivers who actually had much more track time than he did. That said, we do have to acknowledge the fact that David had a ton of seat time in hundreds of modified cars, some of which are either incredibly fast or just death traps. And after 1,000 project cars, you eventually build some habits that make you into a pretty good driver, no matter what you're driving. I feel like that makes perfect sense. And it also makes for a really good story because in the second race, he felt much more confident, like how we all would. And he, I guess, bit off a little more than he could chew. And he spun out, which is okay. We've all done something similar before. We did something on the first try and went, oh, yeah. And then you got really excited on the second try. And then you went, oh, no. But hey, makes for a good story. All right. The Stradman. I couldn't not talk about this because I don't know of many other YouTubers that have something like this. All right, so Stradman has the one and only Koenigsegg Agera HH. And if I remember correctly, it's the only Agera that was properly modified to meet US standards somehow. Not sure how that works because the US requires crash testing to properly import cars, like under a federalized level. Also makes me wonder what's going on with all those other Agera Rs floating around in the US. Like, how do these rich people find a way to circumvent all these regulations and stuff? Like, how are they driving all these hypercars around? Like the Pagani's, the Koenigsegg's, and all that stuff. I mean, what level do I need to get to where I can just be driving crazy fire-breathing race cars on the street like Taylor Swift taking her private jet down the street to get some groceries? Cool car though, James. Not gonna lie. It's a pretty sick car. I love an Agera R, and that's what it looks a lot like. I'd love to see what it would look like in like a candy pearl orange or something like that.
Lamborghini LP670 SV with manual transmission. This is the rarest Lamborghini ever made, and it is now mine.
Well, that's a hell of an intro right there. But he's right. The Murcielago SV is already a rare and expensive car, as we've discovered on this very series. But we were looking at automatic SVs. A manual SV cost anything. And LamboCars.com said that this very car could be worth $10 million. Apparently, only 5 manual SVs were ever made. And this is one of them.
The color is Marrone Eclipsis, which is like a dark, rich brown metallic.
I'll tell you what, I never thought I'd like a brown paint, but this one I like. And I've been trying to rack my brain over what car it would look good on that isn't a Murcielago, because that's kind of the obvious one. Something that doesn't have an 8-figure price tag. Could you imagine importing it and having to pay a tariff on it though? I mean, your car arrives at the port and suddenly, $2.75 million into the government's pocket later, and you get to have your car. Jesus Christ, that's dumb. Throw the frickin' T into the river.
The real deal. The real M3 GTR. Oh my God.
Remember when BMW put the Need for Speed livery on their championship-winning BMW M3 GTR race car? And then Derek Hamilton, the actor who played Razor, showed up to interact with the fans? Derek Hamilton genuinely seems like a really cool guy. Genuine down-to-earth guy, who I did not realize also is a bit of a gearhead. Happy for Black Panther and everyone else that has gotten to meet him thus far, and I super duper hope he will be able to make it for the Need for Speed Most Wanted anniversary event this year. As I'm recording this, a really big ticket item also just got finished on my M3 GTR. So that's pretty cool. We're getting started on body work here, boys. Should be getting ready for the wrap soon. So yeah. That's going to be cool. Next video is going to be about all M3 GTR stuff. So fingers crossed, no issues. Man, I can't wait. August is shaping up to be a real wild month. Remember 1K Motorsports and their video about their Pista getting stolen? Well, now they've done something crazy again. And they have brought a few supercars and even some hypercars to a track. Which makes me want to ask, what would you be more inclined to rip around a road course? I mean, I'd probably take the P1, but there's also the Koenigsegg sitting right there, too. I gotta find a track around here, man. I'm not sure there's any all that close to me, which is a shame. One day I'd like to take my E46 M3 to the track, especially after it's GTR-fied. BMJ, I don't know what that means. I've never done it myself, so I'm a little nervous I'm gonna make a fool of myself, and I really don't want to wreck my M3 GTR. Rough day to be a car guy in California. Well, every day is a rough day to be an enthusiast over there. But anyways, if you don't know how to circumvent CARB and all their bullshit, you know, it sucks. But in one of DDE's latest videos, as everyone leaves Cars and Coffee, I'm pretty sure, a whole bunch of police cars just suddenly merge onto the freeway at just the right time, which, even with their lights off, though I think some of them might have had their lights on, most people would want to just instinctively slow down or try to get out of their way, because clearly they have an objective. They're pulling onto the freeway with a purpose. You just want to stay out of their way, stay out of trouble, especially if you're in a sports car. You know, no matter what, even if you're behaving, you can still get pulled over, as we're about to see. Besides, as I'm sure everyone knows this, when you see a police car while driving, even when you're minding your own business, not breaking any rules, if a cop feels so inclined to try and fabricate a reason to pull you over, irregardless of you not actually breaking any rules, they will mess with you. It's just luck, especially if you have a car that they think is worth targeting, or God forbid, they think the driver looks like someone that's worth targeting, which we need to acknowledge is also a factor. So a lot of people will often slow down a few miles an hour under the speed limit just so that there's zero doubt about you not speeding. You know, if they pull you over and they say, you were speeding, you go, actually, I was going 2 under, officer. I'm not sure what you're talking about. But I guess according to this officer, any speed over the limit is speeding, which, sure, whatever. But then any speed even 1 mile an hour under the limit is impeding traffic and can get you a ticket. That's weird.
What's the minimum speed that you can give a ticket for impeding? Like, is there
anything under the speed limit?
What's that?
Anything under the speed limit.
So anything over the speed limit, speeding, and anything under the speed limit is impeding traffic.
I'm gonna need to get a lawyer so that California doesn't mess up my CDL while I'm over there. I know DDE has Auto Allies, I think, as their ads or current partner or whatever. I know there's ticket dismissers as well. But I recently came across Legal Shield, and they cover a whole bunch of stuff through a neighbor here. They cover tickets. If you ever have to use your firearm to defend yourself, they can deal with that. I might even also just use them as a way to deal with copyright issues if I ever run into any actual lawsuits, because that's very relevant to me, because I plan on continuing to do movie commentaries. I know CinemaSins does it, and I know they've checked with many lawyers, and their stuff is fair use, and that should be fine. So my stuff should be fine too. But a lawyer never hurts.
Guys, I just got my ticket, and I'm going to share a cheat code the police do not want you to know about.
Anyways, automotive YouTube, it's actually pretty cool right now. I know there's a fair bit of nostalgia for the pre-COVID era, but you can't knock the successes these creators are reaping right now from all their hard work. Hopefully I can get my silver play button this year. That'd be pretty cool. Hit 100K. Getting there. I'm almost at 70K as of me recording this. That would be really cool. That would mean I'm joining the ranks of everybody else. It would mean I'm becoming a bigger part of the community, which is what it's all about. That's what it's all about. It's my favorite part of this YouTube adventure. Is being able to interact with you guys, whether it's other creators or people in the comments or people I come across out in the wild. I just like interacting with you guys. This hobby would not exist without the people, and the people are the best part. That's why I'm so excited about my trip. Go to California for the Need for Speed event with the M3 GTR, because it means I will get to mingle with other enthusiasts. It's just going to be so cool. That's what I'm all about, and if you guys empathize with that at all, hit that subscribe button. You won't regret it. And I'll see you in the next video, brothers. And remember, seek peace, because peace is victory. Bye.